objectives. Blast also cause some kind of vibration, and we need to have not the complete idea. We need to have some reasonable ideas, some understanding of blast vibration. Actually, the idea of blast vibration was developed primarily for mining blast. When you excavate the, let's say, some mines, many times we actually combine machine excavation and blast excavations. Okay. So in the 50s, 60s, 70s, an organization called USBM, U.S. Bureau of Mines. Okay, they did a lot of tests. A lot of blast tests. This blast test was really focused on to find out the damage to structures from those mining blasting. Okay. So what they did is they built a model homes or model houses, small building, 2 or 3 stories building, and they did the blasting. Okay. They did the blasting.
What does USBM stand for?
United States Bureau of Mines. Okay. This distance, let's say L, and charge amount, let's say W. Of course, most of those blasting work were conducted using what kind of the explosives?
Blasting gel.
That blasting gel is
I can't remember the name of it. They pump it in there. Something I can't remember.
okay. That blasting gel, you can say gel, you can say powder or whatever. Let me recall whether there is the dynamite. When you burn the dynamite, does it explode?
Yes.
The
Is this in the-
calamite, or some of the hot one turns into like plasma, or something to that extent.
The reason why I'm talking about what kind of explosives is, those are the explosives you can detonate it using only the specific detonator, not by burn it.
I
When
know
you-
blasting gel is inert unless you have a blasting cap in it and do whatever with it.
Okay. So when you burn it, it does not explode, it will just burn, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that kind of explosives. Okay. They change the amount of the explosives for various distance and various places. And they also measured the vibration using some kind of sensors. We know some of those dynamic sensors, accelerometers, or maybe velocity transducers. It was really extensive testing program. They did it more than 20 years. Okay. From the test result, what they obtained is this kind of figure. Along the y-axis, that is peak particle velocity, or many times it's expressed V sub pp. Okay, we know what is the particle velocity, right? Peak, and ppv is peak particle velocity, and x-axis is the frequency of the vibration, and that is in log scale. Oh, I'm sorry, it's not the log scale. Oh. That is log scale. But it's not the frequency yet. X-axis was in terms of distance divided by amount of the charge squared. Oh, it's not squared, 1/2. 1/2. Okay. And what they obtained is the data was something like this kind of linear relationship. Probably, I guess, the researchers trying to find out some kind of correlations between peak particle velocity and distance and charge amount. And then finally they figured out when they use the ppv and log this one, they got the linear relationship. Whenever we have the linear relationship, it's really easy to formulate the relationship. Okay. So then, I mean, from this one, we can reasonably say PPV should be the function of L over W 1/2. Okay. So nowadays, okay, we use this relationship or this relationship to find out how much particle velocity we have at a certain distance with certain amount of charge. Does that make sense? Okay. And this distance, by the way, this L over W square root is some kind of distance, and with a scaled distance. So what we can say is from scaled distance relationship we can predict PPV or VPP at a certain distance for a certain amount explosives. Okay. And you may wonder, hey, why they did not derive any theoretical equations instead of empirical equations? Can you guess the reason why? When you cause the blasting, the behavior of soils around the blasted area will be highly elastic or highly plastic. Highly plastic. And some particles may fly into the air. So it's really, really difficult to predict the behavior of that kind of highly plastic behavior. So they actually resorted to the experimental approaches. And the next question is, okay, now we know how to predict the peak particle velocity from that scale distance relationship. Then how do we know or predict the damage to or damage of the building? Okay. What they did is, again, they measured the acceleration of velocity, particle velocity using this velocity transducer. And they also try to measure some kind of damages in the building. Physically, with eye inspection, they try to figure out the damages of the building. And what they found out is this one. Y-axis is still PPV, P. X-axis is this time is the frequency, and frequency, but it is low scale. And what they obtained is this one. Something like this kind of relationship, and this frequency was 4 Hertz. This one was 10 Hertz. And this peak particle velocity was 2 inches per sec.
Check the number.
I'm wrong. Okay.
This is not 2. This number is 2 inches per sec. This number was 0.7 inches per sec. So what they actually found out is, they found out some criteria. Above this much particle velocity, or above this criteria, buildings were damaged. Below this criteria is undamaged. Again, that is based on that extensive test program. Did you notice that the frequency range was somewhere 4 to 10 Hertz, very low frequency? That means when you cause the blasting at the surface of the ground, frequency range is usually lower than the 10 hertz. And your particle velocity, if that is somewhere 0.7 inches per second or higher, most probably you will cause the damage. And when the frequency is higher, then that means typically, let's say somewhere here is 50 hertz or 100 hertz, that frequency is very far from the resonant frequency of the building, then it requires a lot higher particle velocity to damage the building. That makes sense. And yes.
What depth was that charge placed underground, or?
You usually very shallow depth or surface.
And then I guess, but I mean, when it comes to surface though, then you're gonna want you have also an addition of a shock wave that's gonna hit the building in addition to the ground shaking.
You mean the shock wave from the air pressure?
Yeah.
Yes, that is true. That is called air blast. Okay, and for this one, the effect of the air blast is disregarded. Okay, you are exactly right. When we have air blast, there is a shock wave, and propagation of the shock wave is quite different from the ground blast. Maybe next time I will include the air blast. Air blast usually, and this kind of shock wave may, okay, this one is the amplitude, this is the, let's say, time. We know that it will come this way. Usually air blast is similar but different.
What's more substantial?
It depends. Air blast usually takes some rising time, then it will cancel out this way. The kind of sound pressure will have, this time is called the rise time. It will have some rise time, then it will cancel out this way. Earthquake or that kind of blasting vibration will be this kind of vibration. Which one is more substantial? Depends on the distance and the magnitude of explosives. Okay. Again, air blast is usually not truly air blast. That is usually the surface blast using the kind of military purpose bombs. Those TNTs or dynamite, they are usually developed for the mining purpose. They don't really create big air blast pressure. Okay, so it's very simple. This one is also called USBM chart. Whenever we have the surface blasting condition, we can usually, not always, we can usually use USBM chart. Okay. But, okay, again, this one was developed 1960s, 70s. Nowadays, we tend to use a little bit more strict criteria. Now, really can use more criteria. That means EU has their own criteria. It's stricter than the USBM, and some other countries also have the a little bit more stricter criteria. So your homework is find out some other criteria. Okay. Other than USBM criteria.
To predict the damage of buildings? Is that what you mean?
Yeah. And most other criteria will have about the similar figure, but their numbers can be different. Okay, some additional comment. Again, their criteria is the criteria they can determine whether the buildings will be damaged or not, the structures. Okay. But when we do the blasting, time to time, building damages may not be really very important. Let's say you are doing the blasting work somewhere in, let's say, Delta area. You have to do the blasting work, and let's say there is the quite big size of, good size of house, and if you really got to worry about whether this building will be damaged or not, maybe the best thing you can do is just buy out this house. It may be $50,000. Then you don't care about whether this house will be damaged or not, right? If you don't buy out this house, then you got to really worry about whether this house can be damaged or not. Then you got to reduce the amount of the charge, and that will actually delay your construction time. Then it may be better to just buy out the house. Or let's say this house itself is not really a big deal. You can just buy it out. But there's a farm, big farm, or maybe big farm that raise the cattle. Okay. We know that some animals can detect earthquake even before the equipment can detect it, right? By some reasons, animals are a lot more sensitive than buildings, or they are a lot more sensitive than human beings to the vibration. There is no criteria, which criteria is sensitive to those, especially they are sensitive to those animals. But based on the experience, we know that animals are a lot more sensitive to the vibrations, especially the pregnant animals. They are extremely sensitive to vibrations. Okay. So when you work on somewhere in the job site, if you have a big farm in there, there are a lot of cattle, then what you can do is, usually the easiest way is buy out the farm. It may not be very cheap, but if those animals cause the troubles to vibration, then farm owners will call the lawyer, or they may get the policeman, and they may come to you and try to stop you. If you have to stop the blasting works, probably just the waiting time will cause you a substantial monetary loss. In that case, you got to really think about those animals. Okay. I mean, we don't have any criteria for those animals. So if you got to go to the courthouse, you cannot justify whether your blasting vibration will be okay to those animals. If the owner of this farm have some proof that some animals were dead during while you were doing the blast, then usually those judges will raise the hand for those guys. Okay. Also in the metropolitan areas, in big cities. In big cities, they always have some kind of vibration. So those residents are not very sensitive to the vibrations. But when you do the blasting, you will also cause the big noise, right? That noise is different from machine noise. That noise is different from the music. People usually feel some kind of fear when they hear big blasting noise. Then you also got to think of how to control those residents from the noise of the blasting. Okay? So you got to also worry about the noise of the blast. What's the typical criteria for the noise? Usually that is somewhere 50 to 60 decibel. Below that level, we usually are not really bothered by the noise. But some patient in the hospitals, they are extremely sensitive to some kind of noises. That means if you got to do the blasting work somewhere in the Boston hospital row, then you got to think of how you can control the noise. Okay, I will cover the materials up to this much. This is the homework, and this is it. Jimmy does not understand.
He missed out on
It's
that.
already 10:45. Time was changed.
What's the catch here? What's the catch?
There's no catch.
Gareth, he's lost his mind. There's a catch somewhere.
You see, they are packing the bag.
I missed something.
Do you want me to go photocopy this and just slide this under your door?
Yeah. Also, don't forget that, okay, if possible, try to attend this meeting from 3 to 3:30. I guess that it should be a good talk. Actually, we have a visitor from NSF. And I made a mistake. So my appointment was arranged from 10:15 to 10:45 instead of 11:15 to 11:45.